All stories are true. Some stories actually happened. If you look at and listen to a story, you might find yourself in the story. Sometimes the story becomes your own story.
Good evening once again. This is Father Tony Russo from the Priest of the Sacred Heart. This is a time of the year when many young children make their first communion. So my first story tonight is my most favorite First Communion story. The word was out. A very important person was coming to Capharnaum. A little boy who was 6 years old heard about it, and he went to his mother and said, "Mom, can we go see that most important man?" Mom says, "We're sorry, but we have to work, so we can't go." Well, the little boy found out that the baker who lived next door was going to go. So he told his mom about that. So his mom went and talked to the baker, and the baker said, "Yeah, I'll take your son with me." So they get up that early next morning, and before he leaves, his mom has a basket. And she gives him 5 loaves of bread and 7 fish because she wanted him to be able to eat while he was there and to share something with the baker. So they finally got to the grounds where the event was taking place, and they listened to wonderful stories about how much God loved them. And they saw many people cured from sicknesses. And everybody it was a lively day, and people were so happy, so grateful to God to be able to hear this important person speak to them. Well, it was getting late, so that important person said to his colleagues, "These people need to eat. We got to find a way of feeding them." Well, his colleagues said to him, "Hey, no way. All these people, we need $1 million to feed them." So the important man spied a little boy who had a basket. And so he asked the little boy to come over to him. The little boy came over, and he had fish and bread. So the important person said to him, "Son, would you be willing to share that bread and fish with me and all those people out there?" Oh, the little boy was excited. He said, "Sure I would. My mother would want me to do that." So Jesus took the basket, raised it high, called down God's blessing, and he went over to the boy first and said, "Take some." The boy took some. Jesus took some, and he handed it to his colleagues, and they passed it on and on and on. And you know what? Everybody was satisfied. In fact, they collected 7 baskets full of leftovers, which they could take with them when they went home and feed people on the way. Now, that important person, I think you know who he was. It was Jesus. And you know what? Every time Jesus thinks about that day when he fed all those people, 4,000, not counting men and women, what comes to his mind? That little boy. He was Jesus' hero because he shared, and all those people were able to eat and feel content. I'm going to tell you a story about another little boy who also, in some ways, is a hero. There was a little girl who had a very serious blood disease. Her younger brother had the same disease, and thanks be to God, he got cured, and he developed the antibodies that this little girl needed in order to survive. And so the doctor one day said to the little boy, "Would you be willing to give your sister your blood?" The little boy was kind of taken back for a moment, then he kind of thought, and then he said, "Yes, I would." And so they arranged for the transfusion, and everybody was thrilled about this. And as they started the blood flowing into the sister, her cheeks got red. She smiled, but the little boy, he was pale, and he was really anxious. It seemed worried. So he finally said to the doctor, "Am I going to start dying pretty soon?" The doctor said, "Oh, no, we're not going to give your sister all of your blood, you're just going to give her some of it. The little boy was a hero. He was ready to give his sister all of his blood if that would cure her and make her better. And yet, he didn't have to do that, and him and his sister lived happily ever after. Thanks be to God. And that kid was a hero. Finally, there was a great bishop who lived in North Africa. His name was Augustine. Well, we call him St. Augustine. And he lived on the Mediterranean Sea in North Africa. Every Saturday afternoon, he would walk on that beach, thinking, pondering about what was he going to teach the people in his sermon on Sunday. He came across a little boy who had dug a hole in the sand and was going back and forth from the ocean with a bucket of water, putting into the hole. Well, Augustine came by and said, "You know, little boy," and he laughed, "there's no way you're going to put that whole ocean in that hole." The little boy looked at Augustine and said, "I'll be able to do that before you're going to be able to understand the mystery of the Trinity." That little guy also was a hero. You know, children oftentimes have wisdom to give to us, and we have to be open to it. So let's remember, children very often can be heroes.